Welcome to Dark Sorcery. I'm Alfredo Martinez, and I have with me Shadow Wolfwalker. Good to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
You're welcome. And to get started out, let's go ahead and talk about how your spiritual journey began.
Well, I pretty much practiced magic my whole life. But I would say that I didn't really start getting serious about my path until maybe 8 years ago.
Okay.
I've always been dabbling here and there in magic, but it wasn't until I saw this wolf
Right.
across the road. And where I live, there's no wolves. There's no wolves in our region. And so I saw this black wolf. I was driving my Jeep down the road and I saw this black wolf, and he ran out in the middle of the road and stopped and looked at me. And I was like, what? There's no wolves around here. But back home where I'm from, there's all kinds of wolves and cougars and bears. But that kind of started me on my journey, I'd say, because I connected to that animal and actually called that animal to become a spirit animal of mine. And then that spirit animal showed me my spirit guide. It's a shaman that I work with in the other realms.
Yeah, I think that's common for practitioners to, in the beginning, just kind of dabble here and there, and then some experience, whatever it may be, allows them to become dedicated, and then somewhere along the line they have to they may go off the path a little bit and kind of re-energize a little bit. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. There's times where I study more the occult and more modern magics, but then I always default more back to more kind of a shamanistic, animistic approach to my magic. And that's kind of what I always kind of default to. And as a matter of fact, my shaman came to me in a dream last week, and we sat down and had a good conversation. And it's always starts. I'm in the woods, and my wolf comes out of the ferns in the woods, and then he guides me to my shaman. And that's just how every dream starts whenever I contact him. So
very interesting. What occult books would you say inspired
you? Well, right now I'm reading what's the one that I'm reading right now? I have to think about it. It's Eliphas Levi. Transcendental Magic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading, that one right now.
A lot of people start off with Anton LaVey. Some start off with Donald Michael Craig, Israel Regardie. The list goes on. You tend to gravitate more towards Eliphas Levi's works. Would you say?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. I like his versions of Baphomet, and I like his kind of understanding of the occult, I guess. But I really like Hermeticism and stuff too. So there's a lot of all kinds of little bits and pieces that I study, and there's not really one author that I stick to, or I haven't even read Anton LaVey's book, to be honest with you. But I do consider myself a Luciferian. I mean, I do, because I follow Lucifer. But
yeah, I think that's important that people tend to I encourage them to broaden their horizons, not just stick to one author or one genre, because there's many paths to be learned from. That's how we find ourselves. That's how we find our magic and our path.
Yeah, I think so too.
Having an open mind. So now, how would you describe your magical style?
I describe my magical style like a path of blood and bone. I mean, that's really what it is. I love dealing with blood, doing blood magic. and I love bones. So I work a lot with bones and do bone divination, do osteomancy. So I throw bones.
Okay.
And I make jewelry with bones. You've seen some of the stuff in the store.
Oh yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. So I'd say my path is more animistic, but with an element of occult. It's got an occult element to it too. So I'm not entirely Nordic, nor am I entirely animistic. I'm kind of like a little bit of all three.
You know? Now you mentioned blood magic. Now some practitioners will, tend to use their blood with just about any deity they work with. Some practitioners are very careful with who they share their blood with, as far as deities go. Does it not matter to you, or do you prefer one over the other?
Well, it depends on the spell for me. If it's protection, I use animal blood.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't if it's like, say I'm going to protect around my house and the farm or something like that, I'll cull a chicken and then I'll use that blood and make rings and bind rings and things like that around the farm. So, I mean, I'm very primitive in my approach to my path. When it comes to like connecting, I'd say, because I definitely lean more towards the Nordic pantheon, like Norse pantheon of gods and things like that. So like if I go around the farm and I'm going to ask for protection, I'm going to ask for protection from Freya or Freya, know, so, but if it's something like I need something done and there's a dedication to like Lucifer or something like that, I'll use my blood for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
just
go ahead.
No, I know a lot of practitioners they're not really all that big into blood magic, but I think to me it's important. I mean, I think it's
very
dedication
powerful.
And I think it's also a connection. It takes us back to our more primal state, I think, and I think magic is primal.
I think that some practitioners underestimate the power of blood.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, it's life force. There's a lot of energy inside of it that can be used.
Yeah.
Now, I had read that somewhere you kind of described yourself as old Germanic Gothic witch. Can you expand on it?
So I consider my path the Gothiscanza Hexa, which means Gothic witch in German, old Gothic witch.
Yeah.
I think really kind of what made me go that direction was reading Tacitus's work of Germania.
Yeah.
Because I like to read a lot of archaeology and I like to do a lot of history, read a lot of history and like to learn. I'm always constantly, I've got like Archaeology Today magazine and National Geographic and all them. I always try to stay up on the grave sites and all the kings and things like that. But all the old pagan, ways I like to try to follow if I can, as close as I can. So Gothiscanza Hexa the Gothic is the oldest Germanic tribe,
Yeah.
So I figure the main gods that I follow, I would say would be Ozendil, which is the Ozendil in German would be the shining one, right? Okay. So kind of like Lucifer,
right?
Then Wodenaz and Gaupt, and those are gods that aren't very. Wodenaz is kind of familiar, but Gaupt and Ozendil aren't. So, but I've done a lot of research on them.
Okay, well, now I noticed in your YouTube video that you threw up recently that you tend to not use, instead of using a feather, use a whole wing.
Yeah.
You describe why that is.
So I just think that it helps distribute sage or whatever else you're doing for energy. I think that wings are symbolic. You know, they send things away well. It's good way to disperse energy.
Yeah.
Instead of the feather, use a wing.
I thought that was unique because most practitioners, you'll see them just, if they do use, they'll just use a feather. But this guy's got a whole wing.
Yeah.
I thought that was unique.
Yeah. Yeah. I use wings and I use chicken feet. I use all kinds of stuff in all my work.
I also noticed, go ahead.
I'll actually use a chicken foot to like cleanse myself too. Just kind of scratch the energy away.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that or not, but
not really. But I like reading your posts and getting into your material because it's stuff that I'm learning from,
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I also noticed in your video that you tend to pay a lot of attention to numerology. You do this 3 times, you do this so many times because there's a lot of practitioners that are not aware that numbers carry energy, and you do things so many times that energy attaches to that action.
Yeah. There's actually a theory that I have where numbers can actually describe an action, and it's called numeric magic is what I like to call it. And it's something that I'm kind of playing around with, but it's using numerology in a way where if you use the Pythagorean theory for the numbers and the letters, then they will spell out words, and then the numbers will actually give you an extra meaning behind the word, which is kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. His numbers are the language of the universe.
I would like to see you do a video on numerology one day.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your take on it.
Yeah, I will. I want to. Yeah, because numerology is really important to me too.
A lot of people don't realize that when doing certain magical workings, numbers and doing things a certain way can give an extra kick to your spell, depending on what you're trying to do.
Oh yeah, totally. I believe that.
Everything.
I believe Tesla says that the numbers 369 is the language of the universe. And I believe that.
I believe that too.
Yeah, if you look at the flower of life, it starts with 3 and then multiplies to 6, then goes to 9, then goes to this and that, and then it's the matrix, of nature of things.
Yeah.
Compound.
You also describe yourself as a nonconformist.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, there's a lot of things that I practice that could be considered taboo or complete black magic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I'm a good guy. I mean, I always want to try to do the best I can and take care of my people and revere nature. That's really important to me. Nonconformist, I mean that I just don't like politics. I don't like religion at all.
Yeah.
And so I just don't agree with a lot of things that society is,
Yeah, I think that when people tend to put things in a box and not expand their mind, and I think monotheism has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that it puts a lot of I think monotheism puts oppression into a lot of people. Like they feel like, plus my version of it is kind of like a death cult, I mean, like everybody wants to go to heaven, you have this beautiful earth in front of you and you have all this nature. Why would you want to leave it?
Right.
So I'm a naturist instead of a death cultist, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that view.
I feel like monotheism is your what's the word I'm looking for here? You're like honoring a dead son of God. I mean, first off, why would God kill his son? You know, there's no pagan gods that I know of that would do that, you know?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem right to me. And so I have a hard time wrapping my mind around that, because I feel like, you know, nature and the animals and the trees and the plants is where it's at. That's the magic, you know, that's where our power lies.
Mm-hmm. You can even feel it just walking through the woods, walking through
Oh
nature.
yeah, totally.
Feel that energy as opposed to just walking through the city.
Oh yeah.
Big difference.
Oh yeah. Like I live out in the country and we have a decent sized farm out here. I used to have goats, and we have chickens and rabbits, and we eat everything on the farm. I process it all here, all of our animals. I just processed a pig a little while ago. So, I mean, we live off the land as much as we can, and I got a space out in the woods, and I love going out there. Nice circle to go and sit.
Yeah, I think that we need that from time to time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now tell us a bit about well, first of all, I want to get your take on this. What would you say are misconceptions about magic and the occult?
Misconceptions about magic and the occult. Can you expand on that a little bit?
So like stuff that people tend to understand the wrong way and put out there the wrong way. Stuff that you would say people are being taught wrong, like, you know, like let's say Hollywood portrays the occult one way when it's really a different way in real life, or you know, people tend to think spirituality is one way where, you know, if you actually walk the path, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they come to me and they're like, I need some help with a spell, but I just don't want to do it wrong. And I think there's a misconception where a lot of people think that spell work is only one way.
Yeah.
But I always tell everybody that comes to me, I always say, trust your instinct. You know, use your internal compass to help guide you in your magic.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that if you shut that part of you off, then that might be the old gods talking, or the spirit speaking through you, but you're shutting it off. So you're plus your magic's not going to be as strong either, because you're second guessing yourself after you send it off.
Yeah, I think with all these modern day distractions, people tend to not look inwardly as they should.
Yeah.
You know, pay attention to thoughts, emotions, the energy of the room, everything.
Yeah, there definitely has to be gnosis, and you have to definitely look within for sure.
And I think a lot of it has to do with maybe the way that the public school system has taught people, because they'll, you know, let's say the public school system will teach kids to think one way. Okay, there's one right way, and they're not encouraged to have to you know, use their imagination to come up with other ways, you know what I mean, to solve the problem. And so when they get into the occult or magic and they try spellwork, they think that this just is a one-step process. You know, you do this, you do that, that's the scientific method. Well, use your imagination. What do you think about
that? Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that, and that's part of the whole nonconformist. Like, I don't like to be a conformist and follow the rest of the sheep and how they do things. And I think that good, strong magicians don't follow the sheep. We are the lone wolves that stand on the outside, you know.
Yeah. I'd say imagination is key, you know.
Yeah.
And nature helps you get in touch with your imagination.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a tap. It's like a clear tap to the source.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what.
Tell us a bit about House of the Black Moon. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so House of the Black Moon is my store, and I sell a lot of magical tools, and people can contact me for magic work, spells if they have problems with spells or any of those kinds of things, and then I'll give them, you know, my kind of thing, kind of way how I do it. Kind of give them something to go off of, because sometimes people like you were talking about, I mean, they just don't know, or they don't have enough experience with, like, say, herbs or numerology, or they don't have experience with working with the moon, or working with Lucifer, or working with Lilith, or working with the Norse pantheon, or any of those kinds of things. So that is there to help them. They can purchase a magical stave, magical stave work, because I do a lot of stave work. I do a lot of bind runes and things like that. And so they can purchase something and then email me and say, hey, I need this done, and then I'll draw them a stave out. I've done that quite a few times.
Okay.
And all kinds of tools, from charms to witch boards, and just, I got it.
Okay.
I don't even have everything up in my store. I only have like Hellfire doll and coffin nail earrings and a necklace. This is a coffin nail here.
Okay.
So,
and that's House of the Moon, houseoftheblackmoon.com, right?
Yep. Houseofblackmoon.com.
Okay. And for all of you who are watching, the link will be below in the video description. And also tell us about Circle.
So Black Cult Empire is a social network that I created myself, because I felt like we needed a real space. And Facebook was always constantly slapping me with their stupid community standards, which they never even tell you what you violated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they'd slap me with 30 days, and then I'd be like, well, why? And then they'd never give me a reason. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to research on how to make my own social network. So now I got one.
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching, Circle is kind of a social network that Shadow Wolfwalker has created. You can go on the Google Play Store, download it. Is it available anywhere else?
Well, the link to join specifically my section, Black Cult Empire, is invite only, and you can't really Google it. And I kind of did it that way for a reason, because I didn't want everybody just flooding in there. I only want people that are dedicated.
Yeah, but
actually share and teach.
Yeah, and I like that. I like the way that you've been running it. I like the way it's structured. Now, for those of you who are watching, if you want to be part of a social network that's not going to slap you with quote unquote community standards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're free to talk about your spirituality and be open. Go download Circle, join it. I'm on there. A lot of well-known occultists are getting on that platform, and get on, just check it out. Create a profile and start. Just check it out. It's good stuff. Well, it's been nice chatting. It's been very, very good. Everybody who's watching, once again, check out houseoftheblackmoon.com and Circle. Links will be below in the video description. Shadow Wolfwalker, thank you once again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody watching, like and subscribe to Dark Sorcery.